Hello and welcome. Today we're going to crush your credit card debt by calculating on Excel a credit card payoff calculator and a payoff table. So let's get started. Hello, my name's Jeff from Finally Learn, where I help you finally learn financial skills like paying off credit cards, Excel, so on. So let's talk just a little bit about credit card debt. The average credit card debt is almost $6,300. That's a lot because the average interest rate in the United States is a little bit higher than 20%. The average monthly interest rate then would be 1.7% approximately. So you're paying a lot in interest. A couple of rules here. Credit card interests are very expensive, so be very, very careful. It can take years and years to pay off a credit card. We'll show you this. Paying a little bit more each month can save you big, big dollars. You can calculate your payoff date. I'll show you how to do it in Excel. I'll give you a link below where you can download this spreadsheet. So you don't have to build the spreadsheet. I'm just showing you how to do it and how it works. And you can build it on your own, or you can just download mine. Now, our problem assumes no additional purchases. You've gotten mad. You don't want to pay these expensive interest costs, so you're going to not make any more purchases, and you're just going to pay off your credit card. Now, if you have credit card debt, you're not alone. We have 46% of the people in the United States, 46% of the households, I guess I should say, have credit card debt. And the other percentage then, either they have credit cards and they pay it off every month, or they don't even have a credit card. All right, so here's our calculator. So I'm just starting with today's date. So the current balance, let's just assume $6,000. I already have it formatted for dollars. The annual interest rate, let's just say it's 20%. Have that formatted already for percentages. And let's say the minimum payment is 2% of the balance, so let's just make it $120. So that's all given. Everything in the cream is given, and we're going to make some additional payments here and show how this works. So let's assume our minimum payment. What would happen? How many months does it take to pay off our minimum payment? Well, this is a number of periods problem, so I'm going to use the formula builder here. So the number of periods, it's going to calculate months because it's a monthly problem. So we're going to take our interest rate. The interest rate, and we'll make it absolute because I'm going to copy it across. Divided by 12 because we want a monthly rate. The payment, I'm going to point to the $120 here. And I'm going to make it negative because I'm going to make the present value positive. Make the present value positive, make it absolute. The future value, I'm just going to type in 0 because we're trying to pay this off where the balance is 0. And the type, you'll see the type is payments happen at the end of the period. We're assuming we're making payments at the end of each month, basically. So it's going to take 108 months. Well, how many would that be in years? 108 divided by 12. We're talking about 9 years. So if you have a $6,000 credit card balance with 20% and you're making minimum payments of $120, you make that every month right on time, it's still going to take you 9 years to pay off that credit card. Ouch. So what's our total payments going to be? Well, our total payments are going to be the 120 times the 108 months. So that's $13,008. Now, I'm not using pennies here. The pennies are not going to be important. Here you have $120 payments. You're trying to pay off a $6,000 credit card. If you make the minimum payment, then it's going to cost you $13,000 to make this payment. Well, when is our payoff date? Well, I can use a function called end of the month. So I'm going to search for EOM, end of the month. And here's what it lets me do. I can pick a start date. So I'm going to pick today's start date. I'm going to make that absolute. And then I need to add the number of months. So I'm going to add the number of months, the 108. And I'm going to add 1 month to that because we might not make a payment this month. This month we've already made a payment possibly or whatever. So I'm just going to add it and make it where it's going to show the latest possible date. So I'm going to hit done. And so there is the date, June 30th, 2030. So we're talking about 9 years away is going to be in June of 2030. So that's when our payoff date is. That's a long time away. All right, so we're going to calculate for different payments, and we're going to calculate months and years, savings, and so on. So let's do this. Let's say, well, what if we can make, instead of $120, let's just make it $130. So let's see if we can copy this across here. So instead of 108, looks like it's going to be, let me look here, looks like it's going to be 88 or 89 months. Well, how many years would that be? Well, 7.4 years. And the total payments are going to be $11,532. And what's the payoff date? Now, I want you to see what happens here. If we just make $10 payment more each month, just $10 more from $120 to $130, we're going to save about a year and a half, right? So it's, instead of being June of 2030, it'll be October of 2028, about a year and a half savings. So let's keep going. Let's say we have a $150 payment and then a $200 payment. So let's just use three different options. What if we start making $130 payments, or $150, or $200? So let's copy this across. I've done this correctly where I can copy it. Now at 150, it's going to be 66 months, or about 5.5 years. My total payments is going to be a little bit less than $10,000 instead of $13,000. That's fantastic. And then the payoff date becomes December of 2026. And then at $200, less months, less years, less total payments, and the payoff date is November of 2024. So we're talking about 3.5 years. If you can make a $200 payment instead of 9 years, you can do it in 3.5. So let's continue this. I want to do it for the savings for the months and things like this. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the 108, and it's going to be kind of silly at first. 108 absolute value minus the 108. But what I can do is I can copy this across, and it says, you know, how many months do we save? Well, I'm saving 20 months here, 42 months, 67 months. So that is monthly savings just by paying, instead of $120, you're paying $200. We'll do the same thing for years. So instead of 9, let's do 9 absolute minus that 9. I'm going to copy it across. So instead of having, I could have taken the number of months divided by the years. I certainly can do that. The payments, the same thing. I'm going to take the 13,000, make it absolute, and subtract out the 13,000. Obviously, zero savings if you pay the minimum payment. But as we copy it across, here's what happens. So what I want you to see is just making a little bit extra, just making $10 extra, or $30 extra, or $80 extra. Then you can save thousands of dollars. You're saving years and thousands of dollars. So let's look at this one. Let's actually calculate this and show a conditional formatting. So I'm going to use color scales to show this, data bars rather. So I'm going to show, you can see there's no savings if you pay $120, but if you pay $130, you're going to save 20 months, 42 months, and 67 months. Let's do the same thing for our payments down here. I'm going to do conditional formatting again, data bars, and I'm going to do green in this case, so you can see how much our savings are. So I think that's a good way of looking at it. So you can certainly do this on yours. You can say, well, here's my date. I have $3,452 of credit card debt. My interest rate is 17.99, and my minimum payment, let's say, is $70. Well, you can say, everything gets calculated, and you can say, well, what if I make an $80 payment? What if I make a $100 payment? What if I make a $125 payment? And you can see, instead of taking 7 years, you can now take 3 years. So this is perfect to calculate your credit card payoff. So I'm going to go back and put those numbers back in, what I really originally had. Let's do one more. Let's do a credit card table There's another way to do this. If this is easier to look at, you kind of see it in a different way. Let's say the current balance is $6,000. Go back to our original numbers. 20% is our annual rate. Let's say our minimum payment is $120, and we're going to say, well, what if we make extra $10 payments each month or whatever? It goes from $120 to $130 to $140 and so on. So what we'll do is, let's do it this way. Let's take the $120. Let's say at 120, you know, how many months, so on. We'll do that calculation. But we'll say, well, what if it's 120 plus the $10, and we'll make $10 absolute, and we'll copy this all the way down. So you can see, well, what at different levels of payment, how much would it take? How many months? What's the year? So on. So the months, we're going to do number of periods again. So let's just do that. So the number of periods is going to be, the rate is going to be 20%. Need to make it absolute, divided by 12. So that needs to be a monthly rate. The payment is going to be the $120. So I'm just going to point to the 120 in the column next to me. The present value is going to be $6,000. That's going to be positive, so we'll make it absolute. The future value is going to be 0. And the type, payments happen at the end of the period. So there we have our 108 months. Well, what if we're making $130? Let's copy this all the way down. Remember, we had 88.7, 75.8, so on. So you see, the higher the interest payment, the higher the payment, the lower the number of months. So you can see how that works. So we'll take 108 divided by 12, and that gives us how many years? So I can calculate that all the way down. So it goes from 9 years down to 2. If you want to pay it off in 2 years, then you need to make about a $300 payment each month. Our total number of payments is going to be $120 times the months is 108. So the total amount, I should have said $13,008. We can copy this all the way down. So you can see, the higher our payment, the shorter the time, and the lower the total payment amounts are going to be. One way we can do this, we can format this with conditional formatting, and we can say color scales, and if we did it with green, yellow, and red, it would make the larger number green, but we want to make the larger number red because that's an interest payment. So here we can see, we can just see visually, hey, if we pay it off early, you see we're paying $300. It only takes 2 years and a total of $7,359. So this is how you do a credit card calculator and a credit card table. Hope this is helpful. Be sure to download it on the link below. And thanks for watching. We'll see you on the next video.